What's up, guys? Matt here, coming at you from the middle of nowhere on a beautiful morning out here, getting ready to work on the outdoor course a little bit. Got my main man Fluffers over here. The kids named him Fluffers because of, look at that tail. It's so fluffy, but he loves this course. And don't tell the others, but he's kind of the favorite around here, so he does what he wants. But yeah, so look at that. It's not just a great crawling spot, it's a great cat toy. So far, no surprises on the course, so I'm good with it. As long as they, not leaving me little surprises, little mud trails here and there, we'll be good. But I've shot a little bit of video as I was building this course, so I thought I would just kind of throw this together. We'll talk about it a little bit as I'm doing it and show you guys how it's been going. But first, I'm going to give you just kind of an overlook of it, and then we'll get into the building process.
So this process really started with me collecting a lot of rocks and just some junk. You can see the tire in the back there. There is a tire under each one of these piles. And then I used some dirt that I have from an old RC track I used to have here. Kind of started mounting it up, even used some spray foam in areas. And then just a bunch of rock that I collected from here and there and started placing it in here and adding a little bit of concrete around it. So I used Quikrete because I had a pretty good supply of it and it didn't cost me anything. I already had it. So you're going to mix it up kind of dry. You don't want it too dry, but you don't want it too wet. So really you kind of want it to the point where you can pick it up in hand and it's not just running out of your hand, but it's not crumbling and falling apart either. So just enough that you can kind of work with it by hand and kind of mold it into places. This mix here is a little more wet. I was actually just using it to kind of pour down around some of the bottom areas, and I was fine with it just kind of running. But the biggest part of the time you want it a little bit drier than this probably, just so you can kind of mold it and shape it by hand. So you can see I'm just kind of shoveling in some of the Quikrete here, really covering the dirt. Basically, I had dirt underneath this to help make the pile larger without using so much rock and Quikrete. So just getting a little bit of Quikrete in there and then working the stones in different areas, just trying to keep in mind how wide the trucks are and, some of the lines that I think they'll be capable of doing. It was complete guesswork. I didn't even have a truck out here with me at all while building any of this, so it turned out pretty good. And, you'll find lines that they can do, and maybe you'll find some they can't, and then you'll go back and improve your truck and be able to do it. So that's the entire point. I made some of the lines a little too easy, but I wanted them to be kind of easy for more trail trucks or just stock trucks. I plan to do a lot of testing here. So stock trucks need to be able to run some lines as well. And then I can always find cross lines and stuff that are harder for more built rigs. So you can see I'm just kind of working things in by hand here and adding in a couple little rocks here and there. You can add in pretty much anything you want. And I just had a 5-gallon bucket of these little rocks sitting back here by the back building. So I just kind of started pressing them into the Quikrete as it's, wet enough that I can just push them in by hand. And then as it dries, they'll kind of hold in place. But really just kind of shaping things out by hand a little bit. And then once this begins to dry, we'll start doing a little more shaping, and I'll show you that process. So this is where I got a little inspiration from Josh at Texoma. If you don't know, he's got a really good video on building his course as well. And I just kind of took this paint stick and was cutting some notches in the mix here just to make it look more like a rock and not just something I piled up there, And so I would just cut some notches here and there, scratch it up a little bit. It doesn't matter. And then I took a brush that I had dipped in some water that had a little bit of concrete stain mixed into it. And you'll see right here how it gives a little color. And then as it dried, I think it turned out pretty well. And I played around with some different colors as I went around this mountain basically. And this is probably one of my favorite colors here. I'll link it in the description. I'll try to put a picture of it up here. But you can just kind of brush it over, dab it, whatever, just to get a little different look and texture to it. It really helps kind of get some of the loose stuff off of the top. And you can just shape it. I mean, it takes out the fingerprints where you've kind of patted it in by hand, and you can see I'm just like tapping it, doing whatever. You'll figure it out as you're working it, just getting that look that you want. But overall, to me, this process worked really well. You can get creative in all sorts of different ways. As I build onto this, I plan on putting in some bridges and that sort of thing. And you can see here I'm just using the paint stick, kind of cutting some notches in this, making kind of like a stair step section. You can see the greenery that I put in underneath there, just to give it some sort of grass look, and just kind of playing around with it. And I mean, you can learn as you go and then always add more later. The key for me was brushing on the color, and just brushing, period. The brush totally changes up the look. It gives it more of a real rock look, in my opinion, versus just, patting it in by hand. And then when you mix in the color, you can see here how it just gives it a little different color. And I could have probably used more, but I'm not really picky on how it looks, as long as I got some good crawling out of it. So for me, it turned out really, really well. And as it hardens, just continue to work it more and more. You can see this is kind of hardening up. It's getting pretty close to where you could even run on it. But I'm just kind of brushing, getting some of the loose rock off the top and just kind of shaping it a little bit as I go with the brush. And this technique just seemed to work very well. I was very pleased with how this turned out in the end. I even used the brush to make the sort of tire tracks in this. You can see this section here, it's a little more wet right here. And I'm just, I'll push it in a little harder. And I made the kind of mud tracks up this little hill right here with the brush. So you can pretty much shape anything you want just using the brush. In the end, I was very happy with how this first stage of the course turned out. Obviously, I've kind of already built on another section, but I just hadn't had a chance to get this video up and thought I would get it up and share with you guys. But you can see there's some really cool lines for even more of a stock scale-ish truck like this to run some cool lines and kind of test mods and stuff. And there's also lines, if you watch the channel, you've seen me run the Slayer on some stuff on here that's more challenging. So you will find lots of different lines. It's crazy. Each time you go out, you find a different way to hit something. So just get out there and enjoy building it. I've had a lot of fun working on this. It kind of gets me away from the bench and wrenching and worrying about if I get this video up and if it's going to get any views. And I'm so burnt on all that. I just really don't even care anymore. I'm just going to make what I'm going to make, and it's going to do what it does. I never really worry about views or anything, but it's just like trying to get videos out all the time. I got to get this done. It just takes away from the hobby. So I'm trying to just kick back, enjoy stuff a little bit more. So content may slow down a little bit, but I'm still loving the hobby, just enjoying it more. So anyways, get outside, start throwing some concrete, rock at something, and just shape it up and make something. It's in the end, it's well worth it. A lot of fun to drive on, and we got to have somewhere to drive these things, right? So may as well build a course in your backyard. But no, I'm having a lot of fun with it. Definitely going to be more to come on these. I probably won't do like a how-to on each step, but maybe just an overview and a little bit of how I'm shaping things, maybe adding a bridge here or there or something like that. So in the end, I think it turned out pretty good. I've been very happy with this first couple sections I've finished. I've ran on these and still not burnt out on it. So hopefully I'll have a backyard full of this stuff soon. So I appreciate you guys watching. Peace.